Good morning, my name is Kurt Ranta, Operations Section Chief for Team 12. I'll give you an update on what happened yesterday on the Whisky fire and the Sandstone fire and the Blister fire and what the plan is for today. We'll start over here in the Whisky fire. We did fly the fires yesterday to observe them from the air. That's actually the best added advantage we can get of any activity in the fires. No change in the activity despite warmer weather yesterday and drier weather. Some smokes down here in the East Herman Creek drainage, the head of that, and then a few little smokers down here in the Herman Creek proper. Not really moving around much, just smoldering around in some of the heavier fuels down in there, like they've been doing for a few days. Division Alpha here in the wilderness, again, that's open line. We don't have people just because of the rugged ground in there and the hazards. Monitoring that from the lookout up here on the Tom Lake Mountain Ridge. So we'll continue to do that today. Unstaffed otherwise, Division Gulf, same stuff we've been doing. One thing that we're monitoring monitoring this hand line in here that was put in direct long ago, and any activity that might occur up here, which it hasn't moved in there for weeks, but continuing to look at that. The other thing that resources are doing up here, we have a couple crews up there. They're working with the resource advisors to do any repair, any damage that was done when they put the hand line in, like when they cut logs down or cut snags down, to try to use some wilderness standards to bring that back to kind of natural state. So we're continuing to do that in here. They're about a third of the way done on the sand line, and they'll continue to do that today. Moving down into Division Tango, they're doing kind of the same stuff there. They're monitoring this. Of course, Tango's responsible for keeping an eye on the fire in here, make sure it doesn't do anything unexpected, and then they're also doing what we call soft repair, again on those lines. The lines are staying in place, but we're doing what repair we can do in there. Moving over to the contingency group, which isn't identified on here, but they're responsible for completing any contingency line that might be used in the future. We're getting to the point in this fire where we're not doing any further contingency because a lot of these roads and lines have been prepped by mastication. So in case the fire got out somewhere, we'd have defensible line to stop the fire at, essentially. So that's kind of wrapping up. So what we're transitioning into is looking at some of these dozer lines, even as far as up here that go down to the river. Some of these lines were used in Eagle Creek as contingency lines. So we reopened some of those with this fire a few weeks ago, and we're assessing those and seeing what needs to be done to repair those in the future. So that's going to be a workload down the line, but that's what they're doing in the contingency group. One thing I'll mention, on both fires, we do have an initial attack response plan that's being put into place. We identify resources on each one of the fires that are capable and able to respond to any new initial attack fires in the area. Working for the local cooperators, particularly the Forest Service here. We're not responsible for new fires, but we will respond and support new fires if they occur. So we do have resources identified for that. We'll move over here to the Sandstone and the Blister fire. We'll start in the Blister fire, the little lightning fire. This is the most recent one in the complex here. And they did a lot of good work 3 days ago with some folks in there in heavy helicopters to knock down the southern part of that little Blister fire. Looked really good going into yesterday, and we didn't see any smoke in it yesterday, so we didn't have to drop any water on it, and we didn't have to expose anybody in there to that. So that's looking good. We will keep an eye on that from this drop point 130 here on the Division Delta, really good view into there. So this is looking really good, largely unstaffed unless we see something pop up in there. Moving to Division Delta, they're continuing to do a myriad of little things here. They're continuing to do some road grading on the 7010 and the 160, a little spur in here, and they're following up with some chipping in there. Continue to do that. It's kind of like repair work. And then some other work they're looking at doing down here. They are close to tying a little bit further, a little bit more prep and mastication work. So this is completed down here as a usable line, either for this fire if it gets out, which we don't plan on that, or in the future for future fires. So they should wrap that up today. And then of course with the engines they have, they're continuing to monitor this from drop point 130 and getting out on their on boots on the ground and just making sure things still look good in there. We did identify a couple little smoke and snags that were interior of the fire. got in there and deemed them no threat. They'll continue to look for those smokes that are in either snags or heavy fuels in there. Moving over to Yankee, which is this section in here. Their main mission right now is mainly just to kind of continue to patrol and monitor the lines that have been put in that have not moved in a long time, and just making sure nothing surprises us, particularly in this really like steep kind of rocky area that we can't get people in, that we're still showing as open line in case something pops up in there. No heat showing in here though, as far as when we flew it yesterday. And they're continuing to do a little bit of chipping work as far as repair over here in the 4620 road system there. As far as that wraps up kind of the plan for today, and really kind of aligned with what we've been doing for the last few days. Weather's hot and dry today, going to be hot and dry tomorrow. As you guys understand, you know, near 100 down by the river, and then of course up here high 80s, and that's pretty high. So it's hot temperatures for up at these elevations. Expect it to cool down kind of to normal for early week, and getting back to warm and dry for latter half of next week. So thanks a lot.